cobblestones of Crownskeep were slick with rain, each step echoing with the hollow thud of a man burdened by more than just his sword. Rowan Blackthorn, a former squire turned wandering sword for hire, felt the weight of his past pressing down on him, a constant reminder of the life he'd left behind. He'd been called to the capital to investigate a murder, a simple enough task, but the whispers of the city, the echoes of past deeds, were pulling him deeper into a mystery he hadn't bargained for. The victim, a wealthy merchant named Lord Eldred, had been found in his own home, a single clean wound in his chest. The official story was robbery gone wrong, but Rowan, with his keen eye and sharper instincts, smelled something else, something rotten and hidden beneath the veneer of wealth and privilege. He'd spent days combing through the city, interviewing witnesses, piecing together the fragments of a life cut short. He stood before the grand doors of Eldred's mansion, the rain washing away the bloodstains of the crime. Stains! The air hung heavy with the scent of damp stone and decaying roses, a morbid perfume that clung to the city like a shroud. He could almost hear the whispers of the past, faint echoes of laughter and conversation, now tinged with the chilling silence of death. As he pushed open the heavy doors, a gust of wind swept through the foyer, carrying with it the scent of lavender and the faintest whisper of something else, something ancient and forgotten. He felt a shiver run down his spine, a prickling sensation at the back of his neck. It was a feeling he couldn't quite place, a sense of unease that lingered in the air. He was about to call out for the servants when a figure darted past him, a blur of dark fabric and silver hair. He spun around, his hand instinctively reaching for his sword. The figure stopped abruptly, turning to face him. It was a woman, young and beautiful, her face pale and her eyes wide with fear. "Who are you?" Rowan demanded, his voice low and cautious. I need to get out here," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're coming." "They... and you..." Rowan frowned, his gaze sweeping over her. "Oh." She wore a simple dark gown, her hair pulled back in a braid, her face hidden in the shadows of a wide-brimmed hat. There was something about her, a sense of urgency and desperation that made him uneasy. "Please," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "Help me. They're after me." He hesitated, his instincts screaming at him to be wary. He knew better than to trust strangers, especially in a city as treacherous as Crownskeep. But her fear was palpable, her desperation real. "Tell me who they are," he said, his voice firm but gentle. "And what you're running from." She hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. "They're from the Silent Circle," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "They're trying to silence me." Rowan's eyebrows shot up. The Silent Circle, a shadowy organization of noble houses, known for their ruthless pursuit of power and their unwavering dedication to secrecy. They were a whisper in the wind, a legend whispered in hushed tones, a threat that lurked in the shadows of the city. "And why are they after you?" he pressed, his curiosity piqued. "I know something they don't want me to," she said, her voice a mere breath. "Something about the crown." "The crown. Which I will foresee, Hershey, Trepsil, Hatcheresteinshell." Rowan's mind raced, connecting the dots. The rumors of the dying king's failing health, the whispers of a power struggle brewing beneath the surface of the court. The crown, a symbol of power and authority, a prize coveted by many. He looked at the woman, her face hidden in the shadows, but her eyes, filled with a mixture of fear and determination, held a glimmer of something else, something powerful and ancient. "Tell me more," he said, his voice low and steady. "Tell me everything." As she spoke, a wave of cold air washed over him, carrying with it the faint scent of lavender and the faintest whisper of something else, something ancient and forgotten. He felt a shiver run down his spine, a prickling sensation at the back of his neck. It was a feeling he couldn't quite place, a sense of unease that lingered in the air. He didn't know it yet, but this encounter would change everything. This woman, this whisper in the wind, would lead him down a path he never imagined. A path paved with secrets, betrayal, and the echoes of a forgotten past. The journey north was a stark contrast to the bustling streets of Crownskeep. The rolling hills of the heartlands gave way to the stark, unforgiving landscape of the Frost March, a land of towering mountains, wind-swept plains, and icy silence. The air was crisp and clean, biting at exposed skin, and the only sounds were the howling wind and the crunch of their boots on the frozen ground. Rowan and Maren, their identities disguised, rode side by side, their horses struggling against the biting wind. Maren, a woman of the Frost March, was surprisingly adept at navigating the treacherous terrain, her knowledge of the land a stark contrast to Rowan's city-bred ways. "This is where my family's estate lies," Maren said, gesturing towards a cluster of buildings huddled against the base of a snow-capped mountain. "But it's been abandoned for years. My father, he was a man of great ambition, but his dreams led him down a dangerous path." Her voice was low, tinged with sadness, a reminder of the weight of her family's legacy. Rowan, sensing her vulnerability, offered a silent nod of understanding. He knew the sting of family secrets, the burden of a past that refused to be forgotten. They reached the abandoned estate, a sprawling complex of stone buildings, now crumbling under the weight of time and neglect. The windows were boarded up, the doors rusted shut, and the air hung heavy with the scent of decay and forgotten dreams. "There's something here," Maren said, her voice hushed. "Something that my father kept hidden. A secret that could change everything." She led him through the overgrown gardens, past crumbling statues and overgrown fountains, towards a hidden door concealed beneath a tangle of ivy. The door was heavy and rusted, but with a concerted effort they managed to pry it open. The air inside was thick with dust and the scent of damp stone. A single flickering torch cast long shadows across the walls, revealing a dusty chamber filled with ancient books and scrolls. In the center of the room, a single ornate chest sat on a pedestal, its surface covered in intricate carvings. "This is it," Maren whispered, her eyes wide with excitement. "My father's secret." They carefully opened the chest, revealing a collection of ancient artifacts, each one radiating a faint, pulsing energy. There were scrolls of parchment, inscribed with strange symbols, and a collection of worn, leather-bound books, their pages filled with cryptic writings. And then there was the crown, a simple circlet of silver, adorned with a single shimmering emerald. "This is the crown of whispers," Maren said, her voice trembling with awe. "It's said to have the power to reveal the truth, to see through deception and illusion." She touched the crown. A wave of energy surged through her, a tingling sensation that spread through her body, leaving her breathless and exhilarated. Rowan felt it too, a subtle shift in the air, a whisper of something ancient and powerful. They spent the next few days poring over the artifacts, deciphering the cryptic writings, piecing together the fragments of a forgotten history. They learned of a time when magic was commonplace, a time when the kingdom was ruled by powerful sorcerers, and the crown of whispers was a symbol of their authority. They learned of a rebellion, a war that had driven magic into hiding, leaving only whispers of its existence. They also learned of the Silent Circle, a secret society of noble houses that had risen to power in the wake of the rebellion, determined to suppress all knowledge of magic. They were the ones who had hunted Maren's father, silencing him for his knowledge of the Crown of Whispers. As they delved deeper into the secrets of the past, they realized that the Silent Circle was not merely a threat to Maren, but a danger to the entire kingdom. Their thirst for power, their desire to control the flow of information, could lead to chaos and destruction. They knew they had to act, to expose the Silent Circle and their treacherous plans. But they were not alone in their quest. The Silent Circle had been watching them, their agents lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. The abandoned estate became their sanctuary, a place of refuge and discovery, but also a place of danger. They knew that their time was running out, that the silent circle was closing in. They had to find a way to escape, to reach Crownskeep and expose the truth before it was too late. The journey back to Crownskeep was a blur of exhaustion and anxiety. Rowan and Maren, their faces hidden beneath cloaks and hoods, rode through the night, their horses straining against the biting wind. The weight of their discovery, the knowledge of the silent circle's treachery, pressed down on them like a physical burden. They reached the outskirts of Crownskeep just before dawn, the city shrouded in a thick fog that clung to the cobblestone streets like a shroud. They dismounted their horses, leaving them in the care of a friendly stable hand, and made their way towards the heart of the city, their steps heavy with the weight of their secret. Their first stop was the Royal Archives, a labyrinth of dusty chambers filled with ancient scrolls and leather-bound books. It was here, in the heart of the kingdom's history, that they hoped to find the answers they desperately sought. Old Thomas, the former royal archivist, was their only hope. He was a man of immense knowledge, a keeper of forbidden secrets, and a trusted friend to both Rowan and Maren. He had been a mentor to Rowan during his time as a squire, and Maren had sought his guidance in the past, her thirst for knowledge mirroring his own. They found him in his study, a small, cluttered room filled with bookshelves overflowing with ancient tomes. He was hunched over a desk, his face illuminated by the flickering light of a candle, his hands tracing the lines of a faded parchment. "Rowan, Maren," he said, his voice raspy but strong, his eyes twinkling with recognition. "I was expecting you." He had been expecting them not because he had been privy to their journey, but because he had felt the shift in the air, the whispers of ancient magic that had followed them from the frost mark. He knew that something was amiss, that the kingdom was on the precipice of a dangerous change. "We need your help, Thomas," Rowan said, his voice urgent. "We've discovered something that could change everything. The Silent Circle is planning to seize power, and they're using the Crown of Whispers to manipulate the succession." Thomas listened intently, his gaze unwavering, his mind racing through the possibilities. He knew the Silent Circle, their history of manipulation and intrigue, their insatiable thirst for power. He had seen their influence grow over the years, their tendrils reaching into every corner of the kingdom. "The Crown of Whispers," he murmured, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "A powerful artifact indeed, but it can be dangerous in the wrong hands." He led them through a secret passage, a hidden doorway concealed behind a bookshelf, leading them to a hidden chamber within the archives, a place where forbidden knowledge was kept, a place where the truth of the kingdom's history was buried. The chamber was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of dust and old parchment. Ancient scrolls hung from the walls, their faded ink telling stories of forgotten kings and queens, of battles fought and won, of secrets kept and revealed. In the center of the room, a single ornate table held a collection of leather-bound books, their pages filled with cryptic writings. "These are the records of the first king," Thomas said, his voice hushed. "The man who founded this kingdom, the man who wielded the Crown of Whispers." He pointed to a single book, its cover worn and faded, its pages filled with intricate diagrams and cryptic symbols. "This book tells the story of the Crown's creation," he said. "It speaks of its power to reveal the truth, to see through deception and illusion. But it also warns of its dangers, of the potential for corruption and abuse." He spent the next few days poring over the ancient texts, deciphering the cryptic writings, piecing together the fragments of a forgotten history. They learned of the Crown's true purpose, its ability to reveal the true heir to the throne, the one chosen by fate, the one destined to rule. They also learned of the Silent Circle's origins, their ties to the ancient sorcerers who had ruled the kingdom before the rebellion. They were not simply a group of ambitious nobles, but a remnant of a forgotten past, determined to reclaim their power, to restore the kingdom to its former glory. As they delved deeper into the secrets of the past, they realized that the Silent Circle was not simply a threat to the kingdom, but a danger to the very fabric of reality. Their thirst for power, their desire to control the flow of magic, could unravel the very foundations of the world. They knew they had to act, to expose the Silent Circle and their treacherous plans. But they were not alone in their quest. The Silent Circle had been watching them, their agents lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. The royal archives became their sanctuary, a place of refuge and discovery, but also a place of danger. They knew that the time was running out, that the Silent Circle was closing in. They had to find a way to escape, to reach the king before it was too late. Weathered coast, a land of windswept cliffs, crashing waves, and ancient lighthouses, was a world away from the bustling streets of Crownskeep and the frozen plains of the Frost March. It was a place of raw beauty and untamed power, where the sea met the land in a constant dance of creation and destruction. Rowan and Maren, their faces hidden beneath cloaks and hoods, traveled through the coastal villages, their steps cautious, their eyes alert for any sign of the Silent Circle's presence. They had learned from the ancient texts that the Crown of Whispers had been hidden in a vault beneath the ruins of an ancient lighthouse, a place where the echoes of the past were strongest. Their journey was fraught with danger. They faced treacherous cliffs, treacherous storms, and the constant threat of attack from the Silent Circle's agents. They had to rely on their wits, their skills, and their growing trust in each other to survive. Maren, with her innate Truthsight, was able to sense the presence of deception and illusion, guiding them through the treacherous paths, helping them to avoid the traps set by their enemies. Rowan, with his honed instincts and his growing whispercraft abilities, was able to hear the echoes of the past, the whispers of the wind, the voices of the dead, guiding them towards their destination. They reached the ruins of the lighthouse, a crumbling tower perched precariously on the edge of a cliff, its stone walls weathered by the relentless assault of the sea. The air was thick with the scent of salt and decay, and the wind howled through the broken windows, carrying with it the whispers of ancient secrets. They entered the ruins, their footsteps echoing through the empty chambers. The air was cold and damp, and the walls were covered in moss and lichen. They carefully made their way through the crumbling corridors, their senses heightened, their hearts pounding with anticipation. They reached the base of the tower, a small circular chamber with a single heavy door leading down into the darkness. The door was rusted shut, but with a concerted effort they managed to pry it open. A narrow, winding staircase led down into the darkness, the air growing colder and more oppressive with each step. They descended slowly, their torches casting flickering shadows on the rough-hewn stone walls. They reached the bottom of the stairs, entering a small circular chamber, its walls lined with shelves filled with ancient artifacts, each one radiating a faint, pulsing energy. In the center of the room, a single ornate chest sat on a pedestal, its surface covered in intricate carvings. "This is it," Maren whispered, her eyes wide with excitement. "The vault." They carefully opened the chest, revealing the Crown of Whispers, a simple circlet of silver, adorned with a single, shimmering emerald. It pulsed with a faint, ethereal light, its power palpable, its presence undeniable. As they touched the crown, a wave of energy surged through them, a tingling sensation that spread through their bodies, leaving them breathless and exhilarated. They felt a connection to the crown, a sense of destiny, a sense of purpose. They knew that they had to return to Crownskeep to expose the Silent Circle and their treacherous plans. But they were not alone in their quest. The Silent Circle had been watching them, their agents lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. The lighthouse became their sanctuary, a place of refuge and discovery, but also a place of danger. They knew that their time was running out, that the silent circle was closing in. They had to find a way to escape, to reach the king before it was too late. The air crackled with anticipation as Rowan and Maren stood before the grand hall of Crownskeep. The king, frail and pale, sat upon his throne, his gaze fixed upon the assembled nobles. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the murmur of hushed conversations. The day of the succession ceremony had arrived, a day that would determine the fate of the kingdom. Rowan and Maren, their faces still hidden beneath their cloaks, moved through the crowd, their eyes scanning the faces of the nobles, searching for any sign of the silent circle's presence. They knew that the ceremony was a trap, a carefully orchestrated plan to seize power and control the kingdom. Lord Cedric Blackbriar, a man of ambition and cunning, stood at the king's side, his eyes gleaming with a cold, calculating light. He was the king's closest adviser, the man who whispered in his ear, the man who pulled the strings of power. He was the silent circle's puppet master, the one who orchestrated their treacherous plans. The ceremony began with a prayer, a plea for guidance and wisdom. The king, his voice weak but resolute, spoke of his long reign, of the challenges he had faced, and of his hope for a peaceful future. He then announced that he would name his successor, the one who would inherit the throne and guide the kingdom into a new era. As the king reached for the crown of whispers, a hush fell over the hall. All eyes were fixed upon the crown, a symbol of power and authority, a prize coveted by many. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman cloaked in black, her face hidden beneath a hood. She moved with a grace and agility that belied her age, her eyes gleaming with a cold, predatory light. "Stop!" she cried, her voice echoing through the hall. "The king is not fit to rule. He is a puppet, a pawn in the silent circle's game." The hall erupted in chaos. The nobles, their faces a mixture of shock and confusion, turned towards the intruder. Lord Blackbriar, his face contorted with rage, lunged towards the woman, his hand reaching for his sword. "You dare interrupt the ceremony?" he roared. "You will pay for this insolence." But before he could reach her, the woman raised her hand, her fingers glowing with a faint ethereal light. A wave of energy surged through the hall, silencing the crowd, stopping Blackbriar in his tracks. "I am the voice of truth," she declared, her voice ringing with power. "I am the one who will reveal the silent circle's treachery." She threw back her hood, revealing the face of Lady Maren Frost, her eyes blazing with righteous anger. "The king is not the true heir," she proclaimed. "He is a usurper, a puppet of the silent circle. The true heir is here among us." She turned her gaze towards Rowan, who stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew what she was about to do, what she had to do. "The crown of whispers will reveal the truth," Maren declared. "It will show us who is worthy to rule." She reached for the crown, her fingers brushing against the cold silver. A wave of energy surged through her, a tingling sensation that spread through her body, leaving her breathless and exhilarated. She could feel the crown's power, its ability to see through deception and illusion. She placed the crown upon Rowan's head, the emerald glowing with a faint ethereal light. As the crown touched his brow, a wave of energy surged through him, a blinding light that filled his vision. He saw visions of the past, of the kingdom's founding, of the first king, and of the true heir to the throne. He saw himself, a young boy, standing before the first king, his hand resting upon the crown. He saw the king's eyes filled with sorrow, his voice filled with regret. He saw the king's final words, a whisper of truth that had been lost to time. "The true heir is not the one who claims the throne," the king had whispered, "but the one who is chosen by fate, the one who is worthy to rule." Rowan opened his eyes, his vision clear, his mind filled with the truth. He knew who the true heir was, who was destined to rule the kingdom. He knew that the Silent Circle had been manipulating the succession, that they had been using the king as a puppet to achieve their own ends. He looked at the king, his eyes filled with pity, his heart filled with sorrow. He knew that the king was not a villain, but a victim, a man caught in the web of the Silent Circle's treachery. He looked at Lord Blackbriar, his eyes burning with righteous anger. He knew that Blackbriar was the mastermind behind the Silent Circle's plan, the one who had orchestrated the king's downfall and the kingdom's demise. He looked at Maren, her eyes filled with hope, her heart filled with courage. He knew that she had been right all along, that she had seen the truth when no one else could. He raised his hand, his voice ringing with authority. "The king is not the true heir," he declared. "The true heir is here, among us." He looked at the assembled nobles, their faces a mixture of shock and confusion. He knew that they had been blinded by the Silent Circle's lies, that they had been manipulated into believing that the king was the rightful ruler. He knew that he had to expose the truth, to reveal the Silent Circle's treachery, to save the kingdom from its downfall. He looked at the crown of whispers, its emerald glowing with a faint ethereal light. He knew that the crown was a symbol of truth, a beacon of hope, a weapon against the forces of darkness. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that he had to fight for the kingdom, for its people, for its future. He knew that he had to be the hero that the kingdom needed, the one who would stand against the darkness and bring light to the world. He raised his voice, his words echoing through the hall. "The Silent Circle has betrayed us," he declared. "They have manipulated the king, they have corrupted the kingdom, and they have stolen our future." He looked at Lord Blackbriar, his eyes burning with righteous anger. "You will pay for your treachery," he said. "You will be brought to justice." He looked at the assembled nobles, their faces a mixture of shock and confusion. "I call upon you to stand with me," he said, "to fight for the truth, to fight for the kingdom, to fight for our future." The hall erupted in chaos. The nobles, their faces a mixture of fear and anger, turned towards Rowan and Maren. They had seen the truth, they had heard the whispers, and they had felt the power of the crown of whispers. They knew that the Silent Circle had to be stopped, that the kingdom had to be saved from its downfall. They knew they had to fight for their future, for their children's future, for the future of the kingdom. The battle for the kingdom had begun,